Hey there, I'm author Sarah A. Chrisman, and today I'm going to go a little bit deeper into my books and the writing process and talk to you a little bit about my character of Sophie and explain what some of her inspirations and backstories were. Sophie was a really interesting character to write from a novelist's perspective, because when she first shows up in Book 4 of the Tales of Chetzemoka, Delivery Delayed, she's a little girl in Lizzie's classroom, and then she grows up with the series as the books progress. This meant I got to really explore her maturing worldviews as her character developed, which was a fun challenge. As a grown woman who'd once been a young girl, and then later a teenager, myself, my first move when I was working out Sophie's character was to go back and revisit some of my own old diaries to try to recapture some of my old perspectives from when I was younger. I've been keeping a diary since I first learned to write, so it was a lot of material to draw from. Part of revisiting childhood memories meant revisiting and rereading the books I'd loved most as a child, and L.M. Montgomery's Anne of Green Gables series was at the top of the list. As I reread these old favorites, it was inevitable that I was influenced by them, and slowly but surely, a character who'd started out as myself as a child started to take on some of those aspects of Anne that I'd always loved, with nudges and taps from other favorite characters along the way. And then there were the influences from the 19th century itself. In the 1880s, when Sophie's a child in my books, L.M. Montgomery's Anne books hadn't been published yet, but Elizabeth Champney's Vassar Girls series had, and they were wildly popular. As a bookish young girl, it was natural that Sophie would read and love these books, and reading them myself created the thought experiment of how these novels of college girls on romantic adventures around the world would influence a poor young girl living in a port town where ships were coming and going all the time. When I wrote Delivery Delayed, the book where we first meet Sophie, I'd already been reading my way through a collection I'd put together of the school books that were used in Washington Territory in the 1880s. Originally, this was to help me get insights into Lizzie's character for my books, since Lizzie's a school teacher and I wanted to be familiar with the books an American teacher would have used in the 1880s. But then it was natural to start thinking about how these books would have also influenced Sophie as a student. As my series went on, I kept a running list of books to read on a wide variety of subjects for all my different characters, and Sophie was no exception. Now, it's really hard to say at what point a character ceases to be an amalgamation of all the different influences that went into them and takes on a life of their own, but it definitely happens. After I've been writing a character for a while, they start to take on their own personalities and their own ways of reacting to things. At that point, a big part of the writing process becomes putting the characters together and seeing how they react to each other, and also how they react to a variety of different situations. And that's how stories are born. Back in 1866, Sarah Josepha Hale, the editor of Goody's Lady's Book, wrote that, quote, "Every new book must have a private history," unquote. It's a big part of a writer's job to work out those private histories for our books, and then to put enough research into each one to make the average college thesis blush for shame. Besides the proverbial half a library that goes into each novel, there always have to be real-world experiences behind it as well. Whether it's trips to museums, baking Victorian recipes, or riding antique bicycles, everything a writer does in life comes out in our stories in one way or another, sometimes in big ways and sometimes in more subtle ones. That's why the best way to have a conversation with an author is to read their books. As I craft my characters and write my own books, I'm always constantly reminding myself that I'm creating a window into another time for the whole world to look through and to see how beautiful that time was. How beautiful the world could be again if we believe in it and work for it. We've all dreamed of time travel, and travel of any sort always leads to insights into ourselves and the world we move in. Books do all this and more. That's why writers write, and why everyone everywhere should read. Thank you for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a nice thumbs up, and remember to tell your friends about my books. Happy reading! Mwah!